Hi, I am Arunjeev Singh Barrister, New Zealand. Today I will discuss and share with you few issues around grant of student visa for applicants who wish to study in New Zealand. Immigration New Zealand, the department concerned for grant of student visas and other visas to applicants, have set a policy where they will assess the applicants for international student visas. The first requirement for a positive profile applicant is that he must be a bona fide applicant for student visa. By bona fide applicant, immigration means that he must have genuine intention to study, he must have funds from no sources of income, he must have good state of health, he must have good character. By good character they mean that he should not have been convicted or investigated by any country for any offense under that jurisdiction. Another point they wish to note and they wish to consider for assessing the suitability of an applicant for student visa is that the applicant must be a genuine applicant for student visa. By genuine applicant they mean, or they potentially consider, that whether the applicant is seriously and really interested in furthering his studies in New Zealand, or he just wants to make this student visa as an entry point and undertake any other kind of occupation or career in New Zealand apart from study. So that comes under the consideration of being a genuine applicant. Another requirement for an international student visa is that the applicant must have minimum basic qualification required as entry-level qualification for the grant of student visa. By entry-level qualification we mean in India it could be 10+2 or 12 standard, and it could be even graduate or postgraduate to the maximum, and the course must be relevant to the background of studies which an applicant possesses. For example, if a person has studied non-medical in 10+2 or in graduation level, then he could be suitable for level 5, 6 or 7 in business management. If the applicant has studied medical, then the relevant course would be medical or paramedical study in New Zealand. That would be depending upon the research and the study this applicant has made to search the right college and the right course in New Zealand. Among the basic questions which an immigration officer asks while assessing the applicant for a student visa, few questions which I remember could be the study background of the applicant. Secondly, it could be the family background and personal circumstances of the applicant. This would mean that the immigration officer wants to see whether the applicant has any occupational, family or socio-economic incentive to return back to his home country after completing his studies. Because, as I said before, every immigration officer and the immigration policy for New Zealand as such requires that the applicant must be able to return back to his home country after completing his studies in New Zealand. And after that, the immigration officer may ask about the financial situation, how the funds have come in the bank account and who is being the financial undertaker of the applicant. The more important questions would come regarding why you want to study in New Zealand, why you have chosen New Zealand as a destination for higher studies. And then they could go on to the college which the applicant has chosen to study, and the course study subjects and the course syllabus and the course ingredients which the applicant has chosen to study in New Zealand. If an applicant had done good research on the course of study, the college, through going on the website of the colleges which are available on the net worldwide, and the course material, if he had gone through that, he would be able to give satisfactory answers to the immigration officers with regard to his genuine intention to study in New Zealand. These are the main questions which immigration officers takes into account. Apart from that, few per case-to-case basis, if the applicant is married, he may be asked how the partner or the spouse will support, or whether the applicant would be intending to sponsor the spouse if the applicant gets the student visa to study in New Zealand. Another question would come if there is a gap period between the previous study and the intended course in New Zealand. The immigration officer may ask what the applicant was doing and what documentary evidence or any circumstantial evidence the applicant has to prove what he is claiming. All these questions would crop up from the statement of purpose the applicant has drawn while applying for his student visa. So, in my opinion, every applicant must draw out his statement of purpose very carefully and with the intention to prove that he genuinely intends to study in New Zealand, and he has plans to return back to his home country and adopt or use those skills and the qualification gained in New Zealand for his future career and future goals in New Zealand, in India, or in the home country. I understand, and I think the immigration officers would also understand that every applicant who is spending around 30,000 New Zealand dollars for 1 year or 2 years course, he must genuinely intend to settle in New Zealand. But I don't understand why such questions like why you will go back to your home country and all those things are asked by the immigration officer, when actually in their hearts and in their minds they are aware that every applicant who is spending so much money and his valuable time of his future career, he is spending in New Zealand, and he must be intending to settle here if given a proper and suitable opportunity for that. So in my opinion, I would advise you to prepare your statement of purpose very carefully and cautiously, and to prove that you genuinely intend to study, and those qualifications or the skills you gain through the qualification would enhance your skills or your occupational goals in your home country. These things must be taken into mind while applying for a student visa from overseas. There may be some other issues which the immigration officer may encounter from case to case basis. For example, if an applicant has been refused a visa earlier by New Zealand or any other country, the immigration officer may have concern what is the reason for such refusal, and that reason could be having an effect or impact on the application of this applicant. So all these things, to point out few, the background of the applicant, the family history, personal circumstances of the applicant, the research in the future course which the applicant intends to study in New Zealand, the travel history of the applicant and any rejections or approvals in his case have impact on the application decision. So coupled with few other things which an immigration officer decides from case to case basis, Immigration New Zealand's policy has been briefly outlined. Here I would like to remind you that this is general information regarding immigration policy for student visa, and it is not legal advice as per the New Zealand law. I would request you and I would recommend you to consult a licensed immigration advisor approved by the Immigration Advisors Authority New Zealand, or a competent immigration lawyer who is competent to provide advice on immigration matters. If you have any question with regard to student visa and particularly with regard to the bona fide and the genuine intention of the applicant, you can see my website www.indiannzlawyer.com. I repeat, www.indiannzlawyer.com, or our website www.vlainz.com. I repeat, www.vlainz. Thank you.